Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the Nancy DeKatch Caregiver Show. We're so glad that you're here with us again this week, and we hope that you've had a good week. And it's close to holiday season again. Christmas is coming, New Year's, and I'm sure so many of you are wondering, what am I going to do with mom or dad? I need to get some shopping done. I need to go to the sports games. I need to do a lot of things. But I met this wonderful company this week, and they're located in Clio, Michigan. It's called Christie's Care, and Christy is a wonderful, wonderful person with a kind heart, and she has a very, very different type of sitting service for individuals who have persons with Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's so unique that I have to tell you about it, and I wanted to share this on the air right away. Christie's program is a 24-hour drop-off center for individuals that have dementia or Alzheimer's. And you can give her a call a half an hour before you want to drop your loved one off. So say something happens in the middle of the night and you can't attend something urgent happened, an accident or a baby's being born or something like that, and you're kind of stuck because you have somebody that needs to be taken care of. You can take that individual to Christie's facility located a quarter mile south of Vienna Road on Saginaw, and they'll be able to take that loved one immediately and be able to provide food and a room for them to sleep if they need it. But you need to give them a call. It's 964-2202. And I just wanted to share that new business with you. It's a wonderful, wonderful facility for individuals that need that help. I want to welcome our guest today, Professor Frank Friedman. He is an outstanding individual, very well known in the community, and I just happened to meet him recently when I attended a support group at the cancer facility just in front of Mott Community College. And I just want to welcome Professor to the show. I'm so glad that you're here. And
thank you.
And we tried to get you on sooner, but we just couldn't do it. And so our schedules have finally connected. And our co-host is running a little late. Dr. Chatfield is really busy with patients, so it's just probably going to be Professor and I today. But I want to welcome you, and I want to just thank you for the wonderful things that you have been doing for this kidney cancer support group, because as you know, that's why I started my business, because there was no support for us caregivers, and this is how you got started too. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to Flint and a little bit about your career, because some people may maybe recognize your name but may have forgotten. And so you came to Flint to teach at the college, Mott College,
yes,
right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and so you ended up, what subjects did you teach?
I taught French and English, and I also directed the language lab for 30 years.
30
until
years.
I retired in 1995.
But you didn't retire, of course. That's what everybody says.
I went to a new career.
Yeah, new career. And you were telling me earlier before we got on the air about these wonderful scholarships that you started way back when,
Right.
many years ago, and some of the innovative things that you did to raise money for individuals that had disabilities.
Right. I started when I was still teaching at Mott College, because our son was developmentally disabled, and I saw a way that we could raise funds which would lead to scholarships for those who want to work with a handicap. And it turned out to be a very, very large undertaking. And for the number of years that I was employed there, we would have a very large book sale. That was one of the easiest ways to raise money. And fortunately, for 20-some years, I was able to raise enough money to give out approximately 125 scholarships of varying denominations. And these were people that were students at Mott that had to meet certain criteria and eventually wound up going either into the teaching profession or something closely associated with handicap. And it worked out very, very well. My own son was born disabled, and that's quite a story in itself. But he lived until he was 38 years old, and he died of kidney cancer, but he was prematurely diagnosed what they call tuberous sclerosis, which is a genetic disease, and it doesn't affect very many people. But he was able to be educated as much as possible. My wife and I educated with, even though unfortunately the local schools tried, but didn't always succeed. So whatever gap there was, we would fill in. And
Right.
he was able to read on third grade level, and he was able to travel with us. We know that young people that have this particular disease, and by the way, it was also on public television this past weekend, Healthy Mind, Healthy Body, Healthy Mind program on Channel 28. They happen to be discussing it, and it's very rare. I mean, there are a lot of genetic disorders. You have to realize that many diseases that people have today are based on genetics, and I keep telling people, and they wonder, is this really possible? And the doctors will confirm that of everyone who was born, approximately 80% of the population will have at least one gene that can metastasize anytime during one's life. And that's exactly what happened. 20% of the population will never have cancer, believe it or not. And of course, it's very unique too, because we have situations where cancer comes into a family and there's no history. And then, of course, there are other where there is quite a background of people with cancer.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work on the internet. I have a group that's called Kidney Cancer Support Group of Michigan, and I'm always out to get people to sign up, and they can go to Facebook, and I will welcome them. What makes it very nice is that these people are of all ages, and we're talking about children and adults that have cancer or are in remission. We're also talking about professional people.
Right.
There could be caregivers. I have doctors, I have lawyers, I have teachers, I have people that run businesses. They're not only from the United States, but from foreign lands at all. Because when you surf the web, you find this out. Sure, there are other kidney cancer groups, but they're mostly chat. They're nothing like I do. Mine is like a clearinghouse.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll talk about kidney cancer, but I also will mention other kinds of cancers that people don't know about. Because unfortunately, the media in our area here limits their discussion. And,
it shouldn't be a bad word. You know, it really shouldn't be a bad word.
And I really want people to know more about it.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you came on the show, because sometimes when you get sick, people treat you like you've done something wrong. You feel like a naughty child, and it's just something happened in your body, and something seriously has gone wrong. And I know that how I experienced that shunning from people when my husband was so sick, and people don't understand, and that's part of why we're here. That's what the Caregiver show is about, is to let people know it's not that scary. We're not contagious. We're just human beings that have an interruption in our life, and we need to support one another. And somebody had experienced this before we did, and somebody will experience it after us. And so that's what's really great about your group. You're very enthusiastic, and right now you're saying that your support group is dwindling, and we can't quite figure that out. So we're urging you, if you know somebody that could use a fantastic support group, this cancer support group that's offered at the Institute, it's Genesis
Early Cancer Institute.
It is a fabulous group, very energetic, upbeat, it's not depressing, a ton of information. And if Professor Friedman can't get it for you, he will have it for you in a very short time, whatever it is that you're looking for. And he's here to help you and to assist you and to help you get through that very difficult time. But there's a lot of research about cancer, and something that we talk about a lot is prevention, and that's something people don't want to know about. You know, a lot of these cancers can be prevented, and we don't know when the body changes, but we do know we need to eat our vegetables, and we need to eat our fruits, and we need to stay away from animal proteins and things like that the best that we can, because a lot of what we take in ends up, our body turns. It gets sick because we're eating things that our bodies aren't meant to eat. But then that's okay. But when you do get sick, you need to have a place to go. And this support group is phenomenal. And there's just so many great things. And what you were saying, I thought this was really fantastic. Tell us a little bit about this, the Children's Cancer Support Month. That you said it was for September,
Yes.
and now it's been renewed.
Right. I deal also with children. The three principal diseases that children have: leukemia, of course, is number one. Wilms tumor, which I'm familiar with, is number two. That's kidney cancer, and of course, number three is glioblastoma. The statistics will vary. In my particular case, Wilms tumor, I kind of fell into it by accident, but there are only like 500, maybe to more than that, throughout the whole United States. And to this very day, they still don't know why children come down with it. We have a case in St. Clair County, the East China School District. There are 8 families affected. They think maybe it was from the water of the St. Clair River. Could it be the environment? Could it be from a virus? Could it be somebody else in the family that may have had cancer before? Could it be from, of course, blood and urine? It could come from a virus, not the kind of virus you would think,
Right.
but a virus in your back. There are just so many factors. And if you want to see exactly more about this, I recommend you go to YouTube. There I created in February 2009 4 videos. And it has turned out today, I realized that there are 11,000 people that have looked at my videos in 4 years, believe it or not.
That's great.
And I do discuss Wilms tumor there. There's a little girl, and I'm in touch with her mother and her grandmother. The little girl is doing fine now. You must realize, too, that with cancers, whether it's children's cancer or adult cancer, there is a survival rate. Particularly today, I mean, everybody thinks of St. Jude, which is a fantastic place. I mean, their survival rate is about 80%. Several years ago, it was never that high. We do have locally, too, at Early Hospital, a very fine man who's been there for a number of years, Dr. Susumu Inoue, a Japanese American. He's in charge of all the children that may have leukemia. We have 3 children in Genesee County now, believe it or not, ages 4, 12, and 14 now. And it's about 2.5 years, the regimentation, and you never really know, even after they're through with treatment, how long they will live. But with a Wilms tumor, there's also a website, and the parents and caregivers, if you wish, Nancy, and school personnel, they have done everything possible. They even had the Center for Disease Control come down. They've had the local health department. Michigan State now, believe it or not, is undertaking a grant now, and if there's any question about a child, whether he is coming down with it now, they have personnel at Michigan State that will sit down and interview the people to see exactly and give them the help they need. Unfortunately, we did not pass our millage at Early Hospital. I wish we would have.
Yeah.
Because so many people that use it turned it down.
Yeah.
And otherwise,
didn't
we would have a
understand.
children's center. The
Right.
closest one now we have, of course, is Ann Arbor, C.S. Mott Children's Center. But we would have had a children's center if the people had realized that by giving them the money, that's fine. They are making wonderful improvements, I must say, at Hurley. I mean, with their
Right.
entrance, with the emergency room and so forth. But they are certainly limited. And of course, the personnel, over 1,000 that work at Hurley Hospital, could not get involved with that. But I do want to say with kidney cancer, the statistics I have from the American Cancer Society are pretty much up to date. And I would say that of the number of people that are diagnosed, for example, both men and women, this year alone, there are approximately 64,770 people who are diagnosed with kidney cancer. And of those, probably 20% will succumb, believe it or not, because they may not be able to discover soon enough.
Right.
The statistics are just alarming. I have them for all the states, for all different types of cancer. Breast cancer, of course, that's the one that everybody talks about.
Right.
And I'm in touch with people, even in my kidney cancer Facebook group. I have people that are involved with breast cancer. This year alone, I can just tell you, for breast cancer, approximately 240,000 women are going to be diagnosed with breast cancer,
Right.
believe it or not.
Right.
Now, what's interesting about cancers is that there are several things that are going on. Of course, we've got about 50,000 researchers who are trying to find a solution to cancer. You realize there are over 215 different kinds of cancer, and some cancers haven't even been discovered yet.
Right.
I mean, you find that out from doctors when children come in, they're admitted at St. Jude, for example, and they scratch their head, they can't figure out what kind of cancer this child had. But the important thing is that it's going to be the researchers that are going to come up with, I think, eventually. It's not the medicine. With kidney cancer, we have about 7 medicines now. We have clinical trials for the adults.
Right.
For children alone, it's very small. You would think that we would have clinical trials for children, but they're not. The other thing that I want to mention too is that with the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month coming again in December, besides September, of all the monies that they have raised, whether we've done Stand Up to Cancer or whether we have the hundreds of different kinds of organizations that have fundraising, and believe me, there are a lot more than I could even mention, but only about 3% of all the monies that are raised for kidney cancer research go for children.
Right.
And that's sad because
It's
we would
very
need
sad.
actually a lot more. Right now, very important, you haven't seen it in the news here, but I have, because like I said, I surf the web. Anderson Cancer Center, which is the biggest one in the country, in Houston, Texas. They are very, very well known. They have thousands of employees there. They are starting a new project, which has the same name of John F. Kennedy had back in 1952, called the Moon Project. 50 years exactly. What they're going to do, they're going to take the most obvious cancers, leukemia, colon, breast, prostate, and with $3 million and growing, I mean, some are from grants and others are monies that they have given to them by wealthy people. They hope within the next 5 years they can come up with a solution to some of the cancers. There's no guarantee, but you remember too, Robin Roberts, the one that was on Good Morning America?
Yes.
She has this particular kind of cancer. It's a form of low-grade leukemia, which at one time was deadly. She herself had breast cancer one time,
Right.
and she unfortunately had a sister who gave her a bone marrow transplant, and she's doing very, very well. But we don't know what the future is going to be.
Right.
But at least we have our wonderful people that are involved. 2 other things I want to mention too. As I said, everything can be genetic. In my case, I had no idea with my son that one gene had metastasized, and it lived as long as possible, which was 38 years. But there's also what we call VHL, von Hippel-Lindau syndrome. We have a chapter here in Michigan. The lady lives right outside of Flint. About 25,000 people are born with this genetic disease also, which can affect the brain, the liver, the breast, the ovaries, the legs. And they're doing a marvelous job. They just had an international conference in Boston. And VHL it's called the VHL syndrome. Some of the doctors, one of the famous doctors from Anderson is involved in this. He does clinical trials. And that's a huge area, by the way. I don't want to get into it. Just say this, that with most cancers, like kidney cancer and so forth, there are stages.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a tumor, you know,
Right.
stage 1, same with breast cancer. It's preliminary. It's based on the number of centimeters of a cancer. By the time you get to stage 4, it's very, very serious.
Right.
And one never really knows if one will be able to live. But fortunately, we have clinical trials at different stages. I wish we had a lot more because they would be able to diagnose the people and help them. In my particular case for kidney cancer, we do have about 7 drugs that are being used, very expensive, thousands of dollars each month. You could never buy them at the local pharmacy or drugstore. They are with this agreement between doctors, oncologists, urological oncologists, and pharmaceutical companies to get the drugs for people. I mean, we're talking things like Avastin, which, by the way, has been used for breast cancer, and the breast cancer survivors are fighting about that because the FDA doesn't like it. They say, no, it's not going to work. And some breast cancer survivors have testified, yes, it helps me. And the American Medical Association is supportive. We have Sutent, which is probably the most common one that's used for kidney cancer, but Votrient is the most recognizable one. It's helped, even though you have to be very, very careful because of the toxicity There's always that factor
Yes.
involved. You never really know whether the body is going to be able to have it.
Right.
So in my correspondence on the internet, I belong to what's called ACOR, ACOR, an acronym, which is the Associated Cancer Online Registry, which encompasses about 15,000 people. And they will write in from all over the world. They have a particular condition. I have this condition. Can you help me? Is this medicine? Or is this doctor? Should we go here to see this person or that person? It is a very, very tedious job. And particularly to have a loved one, just to be a caretaker.
That's
I've lost some very good friends that were caretakers. I can imagine what they have gone through. It's
Yeah, it
it's
becomes
very,
a
very
crash
trying.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for any kind of cancer. But the most interesting thing is there are two websites I want to tell the people about. And it doesn't have to be for cancer. It could be for cystic fibrosis. It could be for Parkinson. It could be anything. And a lot of people don't know this. It's free of charge. All they have to do is sign up. One is called caringbridge.org, O-R-G. They're out of Minnesota. Caring Bridge. I'm in contact with the people. Even if they may have a loved one that passed away, they still keep you updated about them. The other one is called carepages.com. They're out of Massachusetts. But you can sign up free of charge, and you can list the person there if you know of somebody that has a disease, and you want those people to know. It's very important because, like I said, there are some that have children or loved ones, even older ones, that will not even tell you about it. But I find it as a release mechanism because these are people who have lost children that still stay on the internet and remind people what are they doing. Many of them will organize foundations. I probably have 15 foundations in my Facebook alone. And these are people that started foundation. One lady, for example, is in Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. She was a lady from South America, Colombia, who had a perfectly healthy daughter, 8 years old, came down with a virus. In 3 days she was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect child, nothing
Yes.
wrong. The child was very healthy. She was in all kinds of activities and so forth. What did that woman do? She created a foundation, and I've contributed to it. They have so many different organizations. You know how large Miami is. They have fundraisers galore there. But there are so many people that don't have the resources. So they use a lot of the money, and they help the families that have children right there in the hospitals in Miami and the Fort Lauderdale area. It's very well, the June, it's the June Foundation. I remember the exact name, but it's the June. If anybody wants to know, I can give it to them. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that aside from the kidney cancer, which I'm in touch with adults and children, every day I surf the web. And like I said, I'd be glad to have you sign up. I have 988 people already, and I want more. It sounds like I'm stuffy about it. No, I just want more people to know about it.
Right.
Because it's not a chat room. You can get all the chat rooms you want. But mine is, it's multi-cancer facet, but I still keep the name kidney cancer. But I also want to tell you that I do belong to the American Cancer Society, and I have worked with a Relay for Life. They have a publication now you can find out. It's recent. If you want to know their activities, it's called New Connections. It's brand new. It's a bi-monthly newsletter the American Cancer Society puts out. Also, I want to mention too that I belong to the American Action to Cure Kidney Cancer, ACKC.org, which is not as large as the Kidney Cancer Association, which I had belonged to at one time. I don't anymore. They're more oriented towards fundraising. ACKC is now putting out 4 new guides to help kidney cancer patients, new and those that are advanced. This is something that's brand new. They operate out of New York. And so we have 2 basic organizations for kidney cancer. One is the Kidney Cancer Association in Evanston, Illinois, and then this one, which is based in New York, which is probably about 20 years old.
Yeah.
But still, it does a lot of good work. You must realize, people, that you, almost like me, it's just natural for me, because I was in education 35 years. So it's natural for me to disseminate information to people.
Right.
And I don't mind doing it. I'll go out of my way, and some people will contact me and want to know, where can I get this help and where can I get that help. Our doctors, we do have nephrologists here in Flint. They're in the Park Plaza on Ballinger. I'm in touch with one of them. I myself, I'm checked because my son had kidney cancer. I'm checked every year by a urologist down in Ann Arbor to make sure that I'm all right. I have a benign tumor on one side, but so far I'm okay. But the important thing, and I want to mention too, that I'm not talking about kidney failure. I'm not talking about chronic kidney disease. That's a different area.
Right.
I mean, a person can come down with kidney cancer, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean he has chronic disease, although the real problem is that many of them are diabetic, they're overweight, they eat the wrong foods. I've been reading all about so much sodium bicarbonate, the salt. The government is trying to do it, the states are trying to do it, to tell people to ease off on salt. But when you have a diet there and people, and the most difficult thing is to try and convince families today, I mean, with our lifestyle, not to give them all this processed food or take them to all the fast food restaurants, because that's where it starts. Many times children, and we do have a large number of children that are obese, I don't have to tell you that. Adults, that's a different story. I mean, over half the number of adults in the United States are obese, we know that. But the important thing is that these children, if we don't do something with them, they're going to come up with heart disease and kidney problems and other things later in life.
Right.
And families say, well, what can I do? How do I do it? Well, they've got to start early, and they've got to talk to the children. They've got to find specialists. They've got to read up on it, because we have too many families that are suffering and they feel victimized. Well, they didn't do anything.
Right.
I mean, we want our children to get plenty of activity too, outside activity.
And that's the problem, and
yeah.
we've discussed that so many times, Professor, because I don't know how many times we've talked about it on the show. Eat more vegetables, eat more fruit,
Right.
Get that, the animal protein down. But it's all the hidden sodium. So you have a hidden sodium on top of table salt. And you do that quite a few times a day, and you end up with the blood pressure and you hold your water, the water retention, and it really causes problems for your heart. But I do know, I don't know how many of our listeners and viewers know that I became a caregiver at 7 years old when my father, who had no kidneys, needed something to survive. In 1960, my mother took my father with us three little kids to Cleveland Clinic, where my father ended up on the dialysis machine. Had no kidneys at the time. People didn't know what it was. It was just a mess. But found out Hurley Hospital had a dialysis machine in the closet on the 11th floor. And my mother worked very hard with the doctors there and the politicians and things like that to change the insurance reform and things like that. And she really did a lot for healthcare as it stands today. A lot of what's going on now was a part of my mother's efforts. And, I can remember Hubert Humphrey coming to our home, to talk to my mother. But my mother always preached about the sodium. And see, as children, we weren't allowed to have salt in our potatoes or on our vegetables. And so when I would eat someone else's food, it didn't taste right. And, we weren't allowed to have potato chips or I didn't even know what a Dorito was or pizza until I ended up in 9th grade with our peers. So, I never knew about these other types of food. But my mother preached back then when she started the Kidney Foundation. It was all about diet. And we are not getting anywhere. We're just causing more and more and more problems because our economy is a problem. We have the mothers have been taken out of the home because it takes two people to work, and the children are kind of left to eat something. They have to be fed, and so we don't know what the solution is. Our whole country is in trouble, and our children are the ones that are going to suffer. And so we're really trying hard, and we agree with you that we need to get more fruits and vegetables into the mouths of these individuals. I know Dr. Ronald here, he had this this is Ronald Rowland, by the way. He's our co-host too. But he has this wonderful young lady that he introduced to us. She's about 14, 15 years old, and she has an interest in becoming a chef for children. And so she ended up being our little chef at our youth retreat for wellness, and she did a fantastic job. And and so we've got some people, some young kids that have an idea that something's got to change for my peers, and that young lady just happened to come into our life. And she's doing a fantastic job, but she never stopped there. She has created a program for diet, exercise, activities.
She
So
has her own
inspiring.
She has her own nonprofit organization.
Nonprofit.
It's in the process of being approved through the Internal Revenue Service currently. So we hope to hear something from them very shortly.
Yeah.
That it will be approved, and she has quite a program that she wants to initiate with youngsters. Exercise, proper diet, those sorts of things.
You've probably seen, Ron, and Nancy too, the schools are trying to take all this food with sodium out of it. They're even trying to get rid of pop and give them milk. New York is up in arms, I'm sorry to say. Mayor Bloomberg has issued an edict, aside from the large, the 10 or 12 ounce containers of pop, which you can still get in the grocery store and some restaurants. They want to ban it because it has a detrimental effect on children, particularly the sodium. So it's not a nationwide thing, but he's been recognized for that. The other thing I want to mention too is that I've had people ask me that have had cancer, well, what should I eat? I said, doesn't your doctor ever tell you? No, he doesn't tell me that.
No.
For example, at Genesis, when I was in touch with them recently, they have as many as 6 different nutritionists or dietitians, because those that have had cancer, each one has a separate diet. It's not going to be the same. Sure, fruits and vegetables, certain liquids, they have to watch their intake.
Right.
And that is one of the most difficult things there is.
Right.
I've never had a program, well, I did too, I'm sorry. I did have a program on nutrition, and the person came down, and the American Association of Dietitians, I believe is the organization now, and if people want to really find out about diets, or they can go online too.
Right.
I mean, just write in the word under Google, diet, cancer diet. You'd be amazed. They even have recipes.
Yes.
You can't believe there are hundreds of recipes, just like there are recipes for diabetes, there are recipes for cancer. One other thing I did want to mention too is that March is Kidney Cancer Health and Awareness Month.
Right.
It is not uniform throughout the country. For 6 years in a row, when Jennifer Granholm was governor, I had to go to her for 4 years. 2 years now with our current governor to get a proclamation like this. I have it right here, and I distribute it to doctors, pharmacies, and so forth, just so people can know about it. In 2010, the representatives from the ACKC, they go to Washington, they met with the legislators. Oh sure, that is McCumber, who was with Livonia, but he lost out because they had cheaters trying to get him reelected.
Right.
So he's out after 26 years. But Steve Israel, they introduced legislation, 2010, with the idea that it would become uniform throughout the country. The Kidney Cancer Health and Awareness Month would be recognized. To this date, it has not. So each one of us, if we want to get involved, we have to beg our governor or our state representative to do something.
Right.
And fortunately, I've had to do that for 6 years. I get a little tired of it because
Well, you're going to
it's
have your
political.
chance again because
I'm going to have a chance again to get
That's
this coming
right,
up again. It'll be
that's
7
right.
years, 7 years in a row.
in May, on May 17th and 18th, we are hosting the very first Caregiver Respite Retreat and Convention, where we are going to have the state representatives sit at a round table, and we caregivers are going to be asking the tough questions, and that is going to be one of the questions we will
That's
ask them.
terrific.
And this is what it takes. We talked about the elections before, and we expressed our thoughts that people need to get out and vote and make a difference. And here we are again. Now we're post-election, and there are still things on the table that are undone. And so we need to remember that we do have a voice. We can make the changes, but it takes a group. It takes one leader and you get behind that great leader, and many things can change. And so we ask you to come and to this kidney support group and listen to some of the most upbeat information you will ever receive. It's really a great group, and you need to be there. But it's not necessarily always for people that have the cancer. There's I've never had cancer, but I was attracted to it. I see it in the paper every week, and I said, I have got to go to this meeting. And I ended up going and met some fantastic people. And this is what it's all about. It takes you. You take that time to get to one of those meetings, and you will learn a lot. And from there, your journey will begin, and you will learn all the information that you need, and then more. And maybe something will spark in you. You might be able to start something that is special in your heart and become that leader for that need.
I might tell you too, Nancy, that I have the meetings already set for next year.
Yes.
You don't know what I go through just to get people, but I mean they give up their time. Just to tell you, we'll start again in March, and one of the very large laboratories in the country, Prometheus, that deals with celiac disease. The gentleman from there, the representative, one of them is a nurse also, believe it or not, and a businessman. He's going to bring a doctor and a kidney cancer survivor. We did have, I will tell you very quickly, we did have cancer awareness, patient awareness in May. They have it periodically at Genesis Early Cancer Institute. We brought the gal from Ohio, very well known, and she was one of the key speakers, along with a gentleman who through his own, not hemodialysis, but through nutrition himself, he cured himself. So we had another gentleman whose wife came, he and his wife came from Columbus, Ohio. We had him last year. And he was dying. The doctor at Ohio State couldn't figure out what was the matter. The mother went in and told him, now you look, this is what you're supposed to find. And they did, and they saved his life. It took his wife to tell the doctor what to do to save him. He wrote a book about it. I have it, many. And if you want to know the books, I'll tell you about it. I just wanted to do a couple things. Normally, kidney cancer affects men over age 55, Ron. You're young anyway. More young people are being diagnosed. No, okay. It is the 8th most common cause of cancer for women. 8th. That's pretty large. It's the 6th most common cancer and the 10th most common cause of cancer death among men. Isn't that something? The other thing I wanted to mention is that we do have 3 doctors who are coming down on our program next year. One is from Carmanos Cancer Institute, which is very large. They have hundreds of people on clinical trials there. So my dear friend is coming back for the 3rd time, Dr. Elizabeth Heath. That's in April. In May, a brand new urologist will find out about my group, so he signed up. Dr. Tom Morgan is a urologist who's coming. And then in June, we have Nancy who's going to give a program. September, I have my friend Dr. Baham Bahani. I can't even pronounce it, let alone spell it. She's connected with Wayne University and Carmanos. She will come back. She also treats children when necessary at Detroit Children's Hospital, which is fantastic. They just got a big improvement there. Perhaps you saw it or read about it. They had a huge construction problem there. A lot of wonderful people there. October will be my friend Dr. Stu Weiner, who was on the staff at Genesis Hurley, and now he's in charge of the place out on M15 in Genesis for hospice.
Oh.
Stu Weiner, he's very well known. And then, believe it or not, I got somebody that I never thought I would, thanks to my friend over in the St. Clair area. She is from a foreign country, but she's connected with Henry Ford. She is a radiation oncologist. She says, yes. I don't care. I'm going to come and talk to your group. I don't care how many of my staff. I'm going to leave them. She only has 3 offices. And by the way, you may not have heard that Beaumont Hospital now is aligned with Henry Ford. They have unified into one large hospital. They're working. Oh yeah, that's amazing when you think about all the talent between the 2 hospitals.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're working out the details now because it's so important. It hasn't been written up yet, but it is official, and they're going to start as soon as they possibly can. But I do encourage people to contact me through my Facebook, Kidney Cancer Support Group of Michigan.
Right.
I'm always interested in meeting more and more new people. And I know you have a large audience, Nancy. I hope we can pick up a few of them from
Yeah.
the area. But I'm like a resource person, you know, and I enjoy doing it. If I can reach out and help somebody, I will walk that extra mile. I'm just not one that's going to sit back and let people manipulate me. I might be manipulating other people. Sometimes I might step on their feet and they say you're too aggressive. Well, I like to get things done. But believe me, I just wish I would live long enough to see that we would have a cure for cancer.
Yeah.
It is so important now. And one doesn't really know. Dr. Heath from Carmona says we're close. My other friends who are doctors from Ann Arbor says we're not close. So, I mean, it's the person that you talk with and their background. We've got 29 urologists alone in Ann Arbor. Can you imagine? Many of them connected with the kidney problem. And that's a lot of urologists. So, I mean, more and more people are coming down with illness. But the number one thing you must realize, that even though this may be Lung Cancer Awareness Month, that smoking, and there's programs galore now, we just had a smoke out. They're starting a new program on Thursday through the government now to try and get people not to smoke. It's going to be publicized, I hope, more and more on TV. But the important thing is that even if you smoke, it's going to affect your kidneys. It's going to affect your prostate. It's going to affect your heart, your liver. A lot of people don't realize it. They think just because it's smoking. And we have 3 different kinds of levels for smoking. You know that? We have the number 1, of course. The number 2, of course, is we are exposed to secondhand smoke,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And then we also have a third one now. All the residue that accumulates from the nicotine and the tars that gets on the carpet, on the chairs and whatever.
The
People are
environment.
smoking. They don't realize that. And kids play and they pick that up.
Yes.
That hasn't been played up very well, but it will be. And I'm sorry to say it's a real problem. The number of people that are smoking now is less. We know that. But it's still, we've got to reach more teenagers. If it isn't drugs, it's smoking. And they're the hardest group to contend with. I've written about it. And I enjoy it because I reach out and there's so much information that our local TV and radio stations and newspapers, they don't put it in because they think it's not important. But it is important to me and I want people to know about it.
And it's important to me too. And
But I enjoy it.
And it's all about awareness, and
It is awareness.
that's what's really great. This month of November is just about over, and you know it's the Cancer Month, it's the Veterans Month, it's the Caregiver Month, and that's what we're all about. And it's just about over for another year. And you know I have a regret because last year was the year of the family caregiver, and I did my hardest and my best to try and get the information out, and I did all right because I tried, you know, but this year I did so much better. But you know, there's so much to do and there's so much information out there. But again, you know, try to prepare your own self to be conscientious of what you put in your mouth and conscientious of what your environment is, like the professor says, you know, the smoke and things like that. And I know this because my mother, you know, raised us to understand these sorts of things. But it's really, really an easy thing to do. I know money's tight for a lot of people, and I know that we have poverty issues. That's another big thing going on right now is that poverty and hunger amongst the elderly is escalating. And, you know, it's just so sad to see that because these individuals, they can't help, they can't go work, they're limited, and so it takes us. So if you're making that extra meal, make sure that you take a couple bowls or dishes over to that elderly neighbor, and that person would truly appreciate it. There's nothing wrong with being neighborly and kind to people, but just don't assume that these people are being taken care of. Make sure that you reach out to those that are in need, and if there are children in the home in your neighborhood that have a disability, also be conscientious of those people. And I think a lot of what I do is I try to point out some of the things that are overlooked. Simple little things like opening the door for somebody that's using a walker. I mean, you think it's common sense, but people won't do it. They look at somebody that's in a walker or a wheelchair and immediately they think liability. And, you know, it's not that. It's so hard. But I don't know what's happened to our society. I just don't
Changing.
understand it, and it just seems like food's abusive, and it's just really weird. And yet we have all these other problems with anorexia and bulimia because these individuals think that food is a curse, and we've got to get some control, and the way we can do that is the information, good information that will help us on a day-to-day basis.
Another thing too, besides getting the proper food, fruits, vegetables, whatever, is that we need to tell families to get those children to exercise, or even adults. They do not get enough exercise. Even for adults, 20 minutes a day, 5 times a week would help. You can't believe, even with the schools now, and they're so strapped for funds.
Right.
What are the things they cut off? Physical ed.
That's
Right.
right.
They cut off music. They cut off art,
Yeah.
foreign language, or whatever. But these kids need an outlet.
That's
They
right.
children need to exercise. It's part of the body, and it makes them feel better.
Yeah, it really
Believe it or
does.
not.
It truly does. And this is a great time of year to exercise. It's just a little cool out. And so you can work up a sweat and you're breathing that nice clean air.
Right.
And, you feel a lot better. It opens up those lungs and things. But, talking about schools, I thought this was really interesting. I was a fine arts teacher, and I loved it. And I always thought the kids, they could be creative with anything that they did. And I always told them you have to sign your name, because everybody's an artist. But they just, love that. But, and you think about it, it's almost getting to a point with all ages in school level that it's a pay-to-play kind of program now. If you're a family and you could afford the basketball shoes and the uniforms and the Letterman's jackets and the socks, or just the fees for the Saturday youth program, that child's pretty darn lucky. But there are so many kids that can't participate and would love to be a part of that team. And that goes right along with what you said about the schools. They cut that physical exercise out, or that dodgeball or the volleyball. We were taught all that. We had a half an hour a week, but at least we had it. But even now the schools are hurting so bad they can't even afford that, or art, or music, and it is really becoming a problem. And so much of our young talent is being destroyed because it takes money, to perfect that.
Well, to nurture them.
That's right.
To
Right.
nurture the children while they're young. From the time that they're born, we have to.
Yeah, and so, and it goes back to that comfort food. I say that all the time. What happens if your needs aren't met? Generally, they turn to food. That bag of Doritos, or, the little
Now they have some Doritos.
10
what is it?
tacos
That's
for
very
$1.
hot.
Exactly.
Very hot. And the nutritionists and so forth are telling people don't buy it because it's going to hurt the digestive system.
Yeah.
It's been advertised. One other thing I just wanted to mention too, with children that I'm in contact with, there's been the push, of course, with autism, and I've written
yes.
about it many times.
Yes.
The one thing you may not even know is that up to a few years ago, nobody even cared about a child with a disability, and then if he was diagnosed, it wasn't until he got into elementary school, maybe at the age of 5. Now they are diagnosed months after they are born. We've got 15,000 children in Michigan alone that are autistic. I believe we have also a center over on in Burton.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and
But
Amy
I mean, that's
Dalio.
something. And
Amy
of course, there
Dalio.
are different kinds of
Right.
Asperger's syndrome. My wife's niece's son, he's grown up now and goes to UCLA, where they have a program for autistic college students, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But Asperger's syndrome is one of the, I think there are 4 different types of autism. But it's amazing what is being done. And
Yeah, and Amy Dalio is in charge.
anything
of
for the
that.
child.
Yeah,
And
and
we've got
she's-
to reach out because our children, they're so precious to us.
Yes.
And they're going to learn all these things early in life.
Right.
And I'm happy with what the government is doing. As you know, with Alzheimer's, President Obama told Congress about $50 million for Alzheimer's. That's fine. But what about the heart or cancer? I wrote letters. I got a letter back from the National Institute of Health all about cancer, and from the American Heart Association. Programs are being done. I mean, just because our president is not recognizing it that doesn't mean that they're dead. The programs are there. But for example, NIH subsidizes all our hospitals. You know that? And yet they still ask us for money because there's so many people that are poor that can't pay
That's
when
right.
they're in a hospital. They get subsidies from the National Institute of Health.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It is a crisis, and you know,
Another thing I wanted to just mention
Yeah.
too, with the children's group, I don't know if I just said it or not. Cure Search is one of the biggest in the country. And Cure Search.
CURE.
CURESEARCH. They have a big walk. They raised $100,000 here alone. They had a walk in September. They have them all over the country, down at the Plaza in Detroit. They found out that some of that money is actually channeled to some of our hospitals in the area here. The only problem is now they have broken away. They were aligned with Cancer Oncology Group, COG it was called. When they were with them, and they had a budget of $60 million. It's now been downsized to $8 million. But their walk is still going to continue because COG wants to do other things, and so does Cure Search. But Cure Search is one of the big ones. I mean, aside from St. Jude and St. Baldrick, there are just so many. And of course, Make-A-Wish. Did you realize with Make-A-Wish that every 38 seconds a wish is granted across the country? 200 and some thousand children have already been taken in. Have been helped by Make-A-Wish. Isn't that amazing? I mean, these are just I've mentioned some of them in my commentary, but if you want to know more about it, I'll be glad to share the information.
Yeah, and
Like I said, I'm a house of information because I want the information to get out there.
Right.
I mean, I've always been that way,
right,
and I feel our community, anybody needs to be informed,
right.
and we can't depend upon the TV, the newspaper, even the computer to tell us. We have to do our own bit of research.
Yeah, and that's true. We are our own cure,
We
really, in
are,
a lot of
we
ways.
are.
And there's
We
so
are,
much
we are.
knowledge out there. We have the computer. There is no reason in the world why we should be suffering and we should be, in poor health like that. And we have about 7 minutes left in the show, but I just want to mention a little bit about this convention that we're hosting on May 17th. We have spaces for 320 vendors. If you are someone out there that would like to participate with this caregiver convention, we want to know who you are. You can contact me at 810-845-6713 or shoot me an email at nancy@ndcaregiver and we'll have the information for you. The convention website is up and you can ask your questions, and December 1st is our date that we're shooting for where the vendor packets will be available. But we need your participation. We're going to a lot of trouble. It's not really trouble, it's excitement to bring this wonderful product to the state of Michigan. We started out local, then we went mid-Michigan, and now we are statewide. And this has all been within 2 months of planning, and we're very, very excited about it. We have some very, very wonderful sponsors, and it's all about caregiving. This is an opportunity for any caregiver, whether you are a seasoned caregiver, whether you are going to be a caregiver in the future. Perhaps your parents are healthy now, but everybody gets old, and it's good information for everybody. We have a group of volunteers that are organizing a wonderful event for the respite side of it. They are going to be putting on a 50-60 sock hop for all of us with a band and an Elvis look-alike contest. And I think the volunteers are also going to have a area at the convention where if you want to wear a poodle skirt, they're going to have one cut out and you can decorate your own poodle. And so it's just going to be an absolute riot. And they may even have these clip-on ponytails for us, But it's just going to be so much fun. And there's so much energy and excitement because people, they really want to do something nice for their caregivers, but we want information there. That's what it's all about. Good information, very much like the cancer support group and the autism, the Lions Club, the Rotaries, and some other types of businesses. We are there to get this information out to you. We have a wonderful veterans group that'll be there, and we have a team of attorneys, we have a Medicare specialist. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. But we have 320 spaces to fill. And in order for us to offer respite scholarships, we need your help. So if you would like to participate in this wonderful event, please give me a call, 810-845-6713. And we want to make sure that whatever you can offer will be available for us caregivers. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a world-class event, is what I'm being told myself, and it's going to be great. And if all goes well, I will have my book available, and it'll be unveiled at that time, and you will be able to get an understanding of really why I do what I do and the wonderful life that I've been given, in spite of some of the sad things that I've lived. But I've turned out okay, and I'm very, very grateful to God for allowing that to happen. And I have no regrets. I have no regrets. Just like you, I am living to get the information out to the individuals because I have it to offer. Just like you, I don't get anything for it. I don't get paid, and I just think my reward are the pennies I'm going to receive in heaven for the things that we're doing to get this information out to you, for the people that perhaps don't have the time to do the research because they're tied down with their responsibilities as caregivers. And that's why so many people that lead these wonderful support groups are there to help you. But you need to get them that encouragement too by attending these meetings the best that you can, and bring your friends. But if you have any questions for myself or Professor, you definitely can get in touch with either one of us. So
I just wanted to briefly state that I did publish some articles. Many of them are on mlive.com. I have an article on childhood cancer awareness. I also have an article that was reprinted from the Grand Blanc View about my background, my group, and what I've been doing.
Right.
If any of you, and I was recently honored, I wasn't surprised by my friend who was a blogger in California, and she's on WordPress. She wrote a nice thing about me.
Right.
So this stuff is there, and oh yes, are you aware also, either one of you, that there is a radio station in Chicago called Cancer Free? It's the only radio station in the whole country that there are people there they interview or they contact. They contacted me, I don't know where they got my name, but they did a profile on me and they know who I am. Cancer Free. It's also online, you can find out about it.
Well, I think that's great.
It's
That's great.
Yeah,
It's
there's another-
internet, you said? An internet TV show? Or radio
I haven't
show?
been interviewing her, they
Okay.
just got my background, they know who
Okay.
I am, it's like a profile, if anybody wants to, they can contact me. The other one that's coming up is Hope for Lymphoma.
Okay.
Look at that website because they deal with leukemia and lymphoma. Eventually they're gonna do a profile on me, I don't know just when, but that's in the planning stage.
I think
So,
that's
if I can reach out, I'm very, very happy.
Yeah,
God gave me the ability to do what I do, and I'm very grateful. I
Yeah.
hope I can continue to do it.
yeah, I know. I knew that you had lost your son, but I didn't know that he had disabilities, and that was something you shared
Developmentally
today.
disabled, but we
Yeah.
still work from there,
Yeah,
and that's what parents have to do. They have to assess the strengths and the weaknesses of a child, and then work from there.
Mhm.
And sometimes the schools can't do it all. Sometimes you have to do it out on the outside. We know that.
right,
And,
right.
it worked
And-
all right.
Yeah.
38 years with my son. That was a long time.
Yeah.
We gave up a lot in the process, but it was worth it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I know. There's always a blessing on the other side. And I think, what do we have, John? About 2 minutes? 1 minute left. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our show. In fact, Dr. Chatfield has been so busy with his clients that we have missed him, and people have told us about that. But we have asked Professor Friedman to fill in for him on Tuesdays, and we're hoping he will accept. And he brings a lot of information that we can use, and we would love for him to join us on a weekly basis. And We just hope that things will work out where he'll be able to do that. But I am Nancy DeKatch, and I'm so glad that all of you shared your hour with us today. And next week, we're going to have Christy Johnson and her son Michael on the show. And she is the founder of Christy Cares, a 24-hour adult drop-in care center for you, the caregiver, to assist you when you need to go to a shopping trip, or go to a wedding, or go to a sports game. You can drop your loved one off at Christie's, and she'll take really good care of your loved one and assist you so your life can be a little easier. Until next time, you have a really great week, and I know that you will join us next week, and we will see you then. You have a good week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.